let me give a little introduction to our speaker for the evening. Gong Deok Logan Buzzard is one of the founding members of the center. He was one of the first people to ever visit when we were in a little tiny rented room up on Main Street. And he was one of the first people to join in a formal way and become an official member. And he was part of the first group of folks who took the precepts and became formal students of the Buddha Dharma in spring of 2024. And now he's in the second semester of a 4-semester seminary program that's run by our parish under the direction of our Grand Patriarch Jungme Kunsanim. And there's an expectation of the on-the-job training. So this, the idea of starting to do Dharma talks and doing other kinds of things. I think I had to do one my first semester. Hato had me jumping through hoops really quick. So we're happy to have him do a little talk this evening. So if you would give him your attention, please.
All right. Well, thanks for coming out tonight, guys. This will be short and sweet, kind of, despite the massive text I got here beside me. So the inspiration for tonight's talk comes from this big honker here. This is the Avamataka Sutra, and this is Bhikshu Dhammaratta's translation. He is an American Chan monk that is also, or was, a professor at University of Washington with translating Chinese text, and he was a student of, I'm blanking on the name, I should write it down, but the guy that founded the City of 10,000 Buddhas in California. He was a formal student of his. And this is the only second English translation of the full text. The other one is up on the bookshelf there, Thomas Cleary's. But what Thomas did is, in chapters 26 and 39, he kind of took a shorter version of the text and translated, where Bhikshu here translated the full thing. Hence why it's 2,200 pages in 3 volumes. And the inspiration from this talk came from volume 3 here, this bottom one here, a little 10-page section. So we'll go ahead and get started. Zen or San is a transmission of Dharma outside the scriptures. But we do hold some texts sacred, like the Heart Sutra and the Diamond Sutra. We also include from other traditions, like the Avamataka Sutra and the Lotus Sutra. Tonight I'm going to talk about the former of these last two mentioned sutras, specifically chapter 39 of the Avamataka Sutra. The title of that is often translated to the Flower Array Sutra. So it can be a little confusing because it's called the Flower Adornment Sutra, and the chapter I'm talking about is the Flower Array Sutra. But that's typically what's translated to English. Now this text most certainly circulated around India and Central Asia as their own separate text. There's 39 chapters in this one, and the majority of them had their own circulation traditions in India prior to being combined into the Avamataka Sutra, probably around, I think it's like the 1st century CE, something like that, where it was studied in India, then it came to China, I think about 400 CE, and it gave birth to the Huan school of Buddhism, which is still around. It's very small now, but Zen pulls a lot from that tradition. Where was I here? And let's see here. Okay. So, in the 39th chapter, which is this whole last 3rd volume, this alone is just the 39th chapter. And that whole chapter is about a guy named Sudana. And basically, throughout this chapter, he goes on a spiritual journey where he meets 53 different teachers. And they come from all sorts of different backgrounds, different lands. It's all described in great detail in the text. But, he not only does he run into other monks and nuns, he also runs into laymen and lay women, other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, as well as other spiritual beings. The 53rd, hold on, where am I at here? Sorry. The 51st teacher that Siddhanta meets is actually the Buddha Maitreya, the future Buddha, who in his section takes Siddhanta to his tower to have him witness Lord Indra's net, the same Lord Indra that we pay homage to whenever we do the Full Moon Sutra. He kind of gets to see the interconnectivity of the whole universe and universes, if that wasn't trippy enough. And then after that, he beats Mandrushi, the Bodhisattva of wisdom. He brings it on a kind of like in a memento kind of way back to the start of his journey and shows him that he was enlightened all along. And then the final teacher that he meets is Samantabhadra, the Bodhisattva of practice and the patron saint of the Lotus Sutra, and in some Tibetan traditions, the Adi Buddha, or the whole cosmic Buddha. And his section there, he teaches them that the purpose of wisdom is for the sake of putting it into practice. And it's only good as far as it helps benefits all living beings. Another thread in the text is the importance of having different spiritual teachers. Now, those teachers can be in a formal aspect, like what we have here at Belmont Zen Center with Reverend Dejong, or maybe less formal, like watching Dharma talks online, or reading Dharma books from various other Zen teachers or Buddhist teachers in general, or other spiritual teachers from different traditions. But our spiritual teachers can also be informal as well. As good practicing bodhisattvas, we are supposed to practice love, patience, and compassion with and for all living beings. In today's world, that can be rather difficult at times. Lucky for us, spiritual teachers are around us all the time. They can be someone who has politically or social ideologies different from your own, or the Wendy's employee at the drive-thru window who has a bad attitude, or the coworker who works 2 jobs so that they can make ends meet and complete their grad school. These are just examples of the teachers we meet in our everyday lives and how they teach us to be bodhisattvas in our daily lives, by allowing us to breathe and reflect on what we ourselves have got going on in our own lives, and then put that into practice of love, patience, and compassion. In my line of work, I have to interact most of the time with people I have a hard time relating to, because I was fortunate enough to grow up in a pretty stable and loving home. And I work in social work, by the way. So I often have a hard time relating to those I'm working with and trying to help. And when I first got into social work, because my background before that was banking and insurance, it was a little bit of a rough transition for me. Because I couldn't understand how some of these people live like they do. I just could not wrap my head around it. And it wasn't until I got into Buddhism here that I started to realize the error of my outlook on those I work with and outlook those I work with. Once I got here to the Belmont Zen Center and really dedicated myself to this practice, to the 5 precepts, the Eightfold Path, and texts like the Avamataka Sutra, I finally started to see that my outlook on things was all wrong. It's thanks to these practices I now see how anyone we meet can be a teacher, a bodhisattva, or even a Buddha, and how fortunate of an opportunity it can be for us to learn from them, even though we might not know it at the time. And I think in this text here, there's a section here in section 7 that I think sums it up pretty good. And in that section, our protagonist meets a upasaka, which is a lay female Buddhist practitioner named Asa, who resides in the Universal Adornment Park in the land of ocean tides, because I'm not going to try to say the Sanskrit of this. And this section also gives him a long speech about the reason of practicing and what it's like to be a bodhisattva. But this one little section I think sums it up pretty good. It is out of a wish to teach and train all beings without exception that the bodhisattva resolves to attain bodhi. And just like how random people can end up being a teacher to us, we should be bodhisattvas to them, even if both parties don't even realize that they are doing it at the time. Each of us should strive to awaken each other for the benefit of all beings.